Welcome to another episode of The Gray Area. Today, very special guest. This is one of the busiest, hardest working men in all of DFW. He is one half of the morning show on 105 through the fan of Shan and RJ, Shan Shariff. Shan, what's up, man?
What's up, man? How are you? First off, you probably say a very, very special guest to everyone, so that's fake.
No. Only one other person.
Oh,
Jeff Kavanaugh.
even worse. Not fake. Dumb. Stupid. No, Kavanaugh's my guy. Good to be on.
Appreciate it, man. I see you got your personalized Cowboys Shan Shariff hat. I like it.
Yeah, I had a Tolo make this for me, so I appreciate it. He didn't misspell my name, so since he didn't misspell it, I said I would wear it. So thank you. This is not the Cowboys star, Jerry, so don't. It's a little bit different.
I'm about to say, this is going to go out on social media, so, you got to make sure you let the folks know. Speaking of the Cowboys, it's been a very interesting first 2 weeks for America's team. They go to Los Angeles to Stan Kroenke's new building and take a loss there. Then they come home and come back from a 20-point deficit. And one of the questions that you've posed over the last few days, which I thought is very interesting, should this Cowboys team be 0-2, 1-1, definitely not 2-0 the way they played the first couple of weeks, but what is this Cowboys team relative to what we thought they could be coming into the season through their first 2 weeks here?
Well, Michael Irvin is the only one to come on Thursday and say, no. He came on Wednesday. He said, no, they should be 2-0. That was not OPI. Of course, Michael's a humongous homer. What is this team? They're tremendously talented, but tremendously flawed team. Every year we talk about the talent. It's a top 3 roster. It's a top 5 roster. A host on the NFL Network, I thought, made a great comparison, calling them a Long Island iced tea. Like, they got all the ingredients. They got the vodka, they got the rum, they got the tequila, they got the gin, they got everything that sounds fantastic. You mix it up, it tastes good, and then you know what a Long Island iced tea will do to you if you have 2 or 3. And that's what the Cowboys sometimes leave us with, and we almost had that feeling after the Falcon game. They should be 0-2, and they're tremendously flawed, Kevin. They have tackle issues. If you can't protect, you're in trouble. We all know that. Mm-hmm. They have pass rush issues that they're trying to fix this week, thanks to Jeff Kavanaugh fixing Everson Griffin. Right. They have linebacker issues. I won't even get to the secondary yet with all the injuries. And their biggest problem to me before the season started was always in the secondary with their corners. So they have and then we don't know what the coaching is yet. To me, this doesn't feel that much different from Jason Garrett. So they got all the names, they got all the talent, but they're tremendously flawed in my opinion.
And you kind of got to something that I was going to get to. And do you feel like the okie doke has been pulled on us as Cowboy fans or Cowboys Nation or the organization in general about what Mike McCarthy is relative to what he was in Green Bay, embracing, quote unquote, the analytics and what we think he projected himself to be based on his McCarthy project?
Well, my question now is, did we fool ourselves? Was it McCarthy fooling us, or did we overhype it as a fan base and as a media? And we probably did. McCarthy was on with us last Friday for his first coaches show, and he chuckled when we brought up the analytics, like a kind of like that. And we're like, why'd you do that, coach? And he's like, overrated. That we made too big of a deal of this little NFL offseason project that McCarthy no doubt took advantage of. And I do think we were swindled a little bit. I do think we were taken a little bit. I also thought Kellen Moore would be a different dude. We all said it was Jason Garrett's handcuffs. It was Scott Linehan's handcuffs. And then if you look at some of the analytics and some of the things that the new school guys are doing, and the Cowboys are still set back in their ways. So I feel a little bit swindled right now. I think McCarthy's guilty of it a little bit, and we're guilty of it a little bit too.
And, of course, the Cowboys, as we're talking about this, play Seattle this coming weekend. And one of the big names who a lot of folks thought could have been a Dallas Cowboy. Jamal Adams, of course, playing for the Seattle Seahawks. And throughout this entire offseason, Sean, I'm not going to lie, I was on the Jamal Adams train. Get him here. He wants to be here. He's got a Dallas Star tattoo, and him not ultimately coming here. Now he's got a chance for Earl Thomas revenge-like game against the Dallas Cowboys. What have you made of Adams as a player relative to what the Cowboys may have needed in the secondary, and what you think he might do on Sunday against the Cowboys?
I agree. I've agreed with Choppy that don't go and get an in-the-box safety in a passing league. You know, it's like the Luka draft. Yeah, DeAndre Ayton is a fantastic player, but do you want Luka Doncic or Shaquille O'Neal in today's league? I'm not calling Ayton Shaq, by the way. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Is it the wrong type of player for the era that we're in? And Jamal Adams to me is he's just a baller. You know, maybe he's not a strong safety. Maybe he's not a linebacker. He's just a playmaker. And if you can get a playmaker, yeah, you want that guy in your defense, but everyone's kind of forgetting the cost of getting Jamal. It was 2 first-round picks. It was paying that extension. And if you had another big name on this football team, first off, they're trying to free up money for Dak. But that's how you get left with your Brandon Knights, your Terrence Steeles. You know, everyone says Joe Thomas played a good game, but these are the guys that you're relying on because you're so top-heavy in terms of the depth. And I want a ball hawk that goes and gets interceptions, not someone that leads your team in sacks from the safety position. So I'm still glad they didn't get Jamal Adams, even though I do think he's a straight baller.
So you were looking for like a Minkah Fitzpatrick type safety, a guy that's going to go get the football and intercept the football.
Yeah, it's a passing league.
Yeah.
Teams are throwing against you. And if you look at Pro Football Focus and trust it, Xavier Woods is the 3rd highest rated safety through the first 2 weeks. So you gotta take that into account.
My man's on a rookie year, so he said, look, he's on the final year of his rookie contract. So he's like, look, I got to come out here and ball out so I can go get this money from either the Cowboys or somebody going into to next season. So
he's got to feel disrespected. He's got to be real pissed off
Mm-hmm.
at the amount of names that they talked about bringing in here. So Xavier Woods definitely should have a huge chip on his shoulder pads.
And kind of switching gears a little bit, I know you're a huge basketball fan, and these playoffs have been everything to you, especially the way that the Mavericks reported themselves in the playoffs before getting knocked out ultimately by the Clippers. What do you want to see be added to this Mavericks team that gives you the idea that Luka Doncic and Kristaps Porzingis with this guy can make the next step to become a legitimate title contender?
Did you see the Montrezl Harrell rumor today?
I did see that.
Of course you did. Kevin is all over every single Twitter. I pride myself on being on every Twitter story, but he usually sends them to all of us. You know, that type of presence, 2 things. A Montrezl Harrell type of presence, I'm not taking any BS. Okay, I know everyone hates Marcus Morris, but if Marcus Morris wanted to come here, bring him in. You like someone younger, more in their prime, more exciting, but that type of attitude. And then number 2, someone to take the pressure off of Luka with the ball. You know, a lot of people are talking about no Kemba Walker and no to Kemba Walker because you want the ball in Luka's hands. I don't think I want someone like Kemba Walker that's going to be taken out of his hands that much, but someone else, Kevin, who can create and get their own shot and do their own scoring like a Bradley Beal. You know, I don't know if I'm in love with Bradley Beal like everyone else, but that type of guy who doesn't have to have the rock, but pass it to him and he could score. It takes some of that pressure off Luka. So another playmaker and a nasty, you know, a dog.
Tough guy, yeah.
A tough guy like Montrezl Harrell is, I think.
Yeah, because I love the way that this team matured throughout the season, but at the same time, there was just that missing piece that every really good championship team needs, whether you go back to the 80s with the Bulls and the Pistons, or even go to the 90s with, you know, the Lakers. And those teams had really tough guys on there to go along with their stars. So, you know, I can see that there. And I hope that they do get that. It would be interesting to see. And for you, I've been wanting to ask you this question because I think the perspective you would give is very interesting on this for yourself, honestly. What's the biggest misconception of Shan Shariff as a radio host?
Oh, maybe that I think there's might be a little bit of a misconception over whether I'm an a-hole. You know, I think a lot of people look. I want to win. Okay, a lot of people want to get paychecks and they're fine. I want to win. I don't want to be number 3, and I don't want to be number 2. And am I tough on all of our guys? Yeah, I'm tough on myself. And I'm going to demand a standard from every person around me because I'd lose sleep if I feel like we're not doing our greatest work and if we're not winning. You know, every Monday at 12:01, you can ask our bosses, Tim Collins and Gavin Spittle, what happens Monday at 12:01? Shan Shariff text. What are the numbers? What are the ratings? What are the numbers? What are the ratings? I want to win. That's how we're judged. And, you know, I compete to do it. And when we're not doing well or not doing as good as I think, I'm in a bad mood. I have a temper. I'm passionate. And I don't mind people knowing that. I think sometimes people don't know when I'm joking. You know, Choppy knows and understands. I think Zoom has helped our show in that people who watch it or on Twitch can see when I'm saying something in a harsh, brash, aggressive way. They can kind of see my face a little bit, you know. They can kind of see when I'm messing around, but you can't get that through the radio. But because I'm pretty aggressive and because, you know, I want to have blunt, hardcore opinions, people might think that I'm an a-hole a little bit. So that might be a little bit of a misconception, but I'll never apologize ever for being cutthroat about winning and doing whatever it takes to try to do our very best show every single year. Never, ever. I don't care whose feelings get hurt. I don't care who cries about it. I don't care who goes to management, and I don't care how many fights I have to get into a management. I will. The day I stop doing this to try to win and be on top, I'll quit. Period.
And the reason why I asked that before we get you out is because you have shown, from what I've come to know about you and listen to you now, is that you have a willingness to attack topics that are very difficult to deal with. And I've told you this personally, that it is difficult to attack certain topics, and with that competitive spirit, but still willing to attack those. Is that something that you've developed over time, or is that something that just because of the nature of the conversations and how they've changed, whether it be sports and cultural context, that you've had to learn to develop to be able to do that with?
So before COVID and George Floyd happened, I didn't want to get into those subjects and politics and race too much. When it was a race topic having to do with sports, I like having those. We always did those topics, and I liked having those conversations because I always felt like our audience, and I don't know whether it was our call screener who did a great job or whether we read the right text. I always felt like our audience handled those conversations really, really well. And I think people, you can say a lot of things about people, especially with how divided we are. People can sense when you're genuine. I really do believe that. So people know if you have racist thoughts, prejudiced thoughts. And because I'm so confident in who I am and who the guys are, I've always felt comfortable in having those discussions when it's a sports topic, because I feel more comfortable with it. Now, when it's not a sports topic, I'm a big homework guy. All right. I don't like to, people are like, why don't you do YouTube? Why don't you do this? Why don't you do these other platforms? I have to research it, and I have to make sure it's like my best presentation. When we're talking about George Floyd, when we're talking about Breonna Taylor, when we're talking about these issues, Kevin, I don't feel comfortable talking about them until I'm fully researched and get every single side of things so I can talk about it confidently. I'm not going to talk about a subject just to appease certain people. Yeah. All right. That's why I can come across as brash. Once I feel confident, look, I felt confident in the NASCAR story with Bubba Wallace. All right.
Yeah.
I look at facts. I wanted to do criminal justice at one point before I realized you had to be way too smarter than I am. I wanted to be an attorney. I left that for my brother. Once I got the facts that George Wallace didn't plant that noose, it's a fact. And once I got the knowledge that NASCAR, and I felt comfortable, they didn't sit there and someone else didn't put it in his garage that weekend, that it was there a year before, then I felt comfortable talking about the topic. And I felt like we had to talk about George Floyd. Did the sports world shutting down contribute to that? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Did COVID happening contribute to that? Absolutely. But I don't love politics, okay? And before I talk about social issues, I want to be, number one, really, really well-read and researched on it. And number two, I didn't sign up to do a social justice or a racial issue show, okay? Yep. So people get mad at me more often than they don't get mad when we do bring up those topics, but I signed up to do a sports talk show. That's what I chose to do with my life. I think these things, if people ask me, if I asked you, name the top 5 things that have happened, the most monumental moments that have happened in your life, what are they? Off the top of my head, I would say 9/11. I would say COVID shutting down the world. I would say what happened with George Floyd, reintroducing this conversation. And my philosophy, Kevin, is when a top 5 thing in my life happens, we have to talk about it. Like, there's just no avoiding. It's a sports talk show, but it affects everyone. So number 2, it's a good topic.
Sure.
If everyone in the world is talking about it and there's no sports going on, then I think you have to address it. But otherwise, I'm going to talk about sports topics because that's what I was hired to do. That's what I enjoy talking about, and that's what I feel comfortable talking about. If we ever go to lunch or dinner, I will lead the conversation. I will lead the table in questions. No one else will come close. It annoys people sometimes. I get made fun of sometimes because I want to know. I want to know about, I would ask you in a separate conversation, your thoughts on a lot of different race issues. What do you think about what happened with Breonna Taylor? What do you think about what happened? Well, what if I play devil's advocate? And once, to me, 10 heads are always better than 1. And once I can get the info from 10 people, absorb it, make up my own decision, and if the time calls for it on the show, then I think we should address it. Otherwise, I'm going to focus on sports topics.
No, that makes a lot of sense because there's so many different perspectives on a lot of different things, and trying to understand the best that you can to have an informative conversation seems like in most cases the best and most prudent thing to do. And when you're talking about them in sports context also, it really helps to be able to have that kind of perspective on things so that when someone listens, it's not just you're coming from this angle because that's 100% where you're coming from. You want to engage your audience in a full breadth of a perspective that allows folks to really have a general understanding of, hey, he's going to listen to different sides to be able to have a more informative opinion.
That's why we take, we try to interact with tweets on that and phone calls on that as well. But the bread and butter is sports.
Yeah.
It's not going to be now look, some of this is ratings motivated too.
Sure.
Okay. And Michael Jordan set the tone for it. You're going to turn off 50% of your audience if you continue to talk politics in any way. All right. Now you, Kevin Gray, may feel a moral and a social responsibility to talk about it anyway, because you may love it and you may not sleep at night if you don't use your platform in order to address those issues. Me personally, I want to win in the ratings, and I don't have a love for politics. I only watch the news. I hate politics. I hate politicians. I don't let my family really talk about it too much. It's so nasty and poisonous and toxic.
Sure.
I argue with my mother every year. Well, who you voting for? Who you this, who you that? And I'm like, I don't want to get involved in it. I'm not getting involved in it. I'm not going to bitch about it. I'm not going to complain about it. But I'm not going to – one side is lying, the other side's lying. One side manipulating, the other side manipulating, propaganda this. I'm like, I don't even know what to believe. I don't enjoy it. So I'm not going to talk about it that much if I don't enjoy it, if it's not part of my job, and I'm not well educated. There's nothing more fearful to me than sounding ignorant on a topic. And if you say one thing wrong in one of these very, very serious issues, people will not forget that. True. And I would rather take my time or not talk about something that I don't have to discuss, in my opinion, than say something because I feel like I have to say it, not be fully educated on it because I'm studying the Cowboys analytics and the Mavericks and things that I enjoy and that I'm paid to talk about, versus saying something ignorant or offensive that may change someone's opinion of me and my credibility. And that's my thought process that goes into it. You just got a lot out of me on that. I probably shouldn't even fall into all that stuff right there.
No, but those are real discussions and real thoughts that I think people have, especially in the business that we're in, and how some self-preservation comes in when dealing with some of this, because you have to be able to look, you got a job to do. You're paid to do a certain job, but at the same time, addressing some of these things is important for context so that you can have even better informed opinions about the sports that you're going to talk about relative to the individuals that are playing the sport or relative to those individuals who are talking about these issues themselves, because LeBron James and others are going to continue to talk about it. So your ability to have that kind of conversation is really kind of important to the job now, given the kind of climate, that we're dealing with. So I think that's fair based on, obviously the job that you have and what you do every day. So,
yeah, I mean, when I wake up, the first thing I think about is how am I going to win? How is this show going to win today?
Sure.
Okay. Now, it's my opinion. I've been doing this for a long time. If you do daily shows in sports talk, focusing on political issues half the time or a quarter of the time, then you will not win. That's my opinion. Why? Because people are so stubborn and so set in their ways, they will 40 or 50%, that's the way I think about it, will turn it off or tune it out. And I'm not going to apologize for wanting to win at my job that I've loved my entire life, and I don't know what else I would do in life, and this is what keeps me burning every single day. So that's the way I go about it. That's just me.
Last thing before I let you go, as a sports fan, you've had many different teams that you've cheered for throughout the years, and obviously being in DFW, cover the Cowboys as much as you do. If you weren't covering the Cowboys, if you could choose any team to cover in your career, who would it be and why?
If it wasn't the Cowboys?
If it wasn't the Cowboys.
Any team. Dang. Well, I think it would have to be an NFL team because I love the NFL the most. But I'm trying to think. It's such an impossible question because this is it.
Yeah.
Like, I eventually wanted to become a national talk show host. All right. And I had an opportunity years ago to do CBS sports radio on the weekends. And there was a point where I would have been like, yeah, sign me up. That's national. I can move up and I can be on national CBS Monday through Friday. But after covering the Cowboys, I was like, you know what? This is national. Like, I feel honored to cover the Cowboys. I really do. Like, it's a tremendous honor for me to have Mike McCarthy on for every Friday, to have Jerry on, and to be the home of the Cowboys. Like, and I don't know if I could put anyone else in that conversation. I don't love baseball enough to say the Yankees. I guess I can maybe say the Lakers. I would probably be the Lakers. Like, my dad's family's in California. So I would go out there and go to the Forum in Inglewood for some Laker games. So I like the Lakers growing up, but it's hard to beat this, man. I would love them to win a little bit more, but nothing can beat this with what Jerry has built. And I view it as a national job. So I don't have those national aspirations that much anymore.
One of the biggest kicks I get is when you see you and RJ's name at the top right-hand corner of like ESPN or something. It's like, hey, this is us. Or it's, you know, we got Jerry talking about something that's making national news.
And I still get that giddiness, you know, it's like dorky, and it's like getting an autograph from someone. I'm like, look, I'm on TV. Like, look. And like, that's how I know it still has major, major importance with the station that we're on.
He is one half of the Shan and RJ show. You can hear him every day, Monday through Friday, 5:30 a.m. to 10 a.m. at 105 through the Fan. His name is Shan Shariff. Shan, I appreciate the conversation, man. This was fun. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Keep up the great work. He's one of the, you know, we probably have the best, not probably, we do right now the best collection of young talent that we've ever had at the station in my 10 years. I'm not going to start naming the guys because I'll forget one, but I'm talking about from producers to hosts to weekends. You know, I'm all about grinders, man. Like, who is busting their ass and their tail? And you can tell just off of his tweets that he's a grinder. And Kevin basically is our producer for all the stories he sends us every day. So keep it up. Glad we work together. Thanks for having me on. I got to go take care of this baby.
All right, man. Appreciate it.